Good evening, everyone. This is Ron. It's Monday, a little after 6 p.m., and we'll go ahead and get started our sessions. It's refreshing as often uh, not be feel pretty good. We had a beautiful lesson on yesterday, which was really fed by questions, and we talked about a lot of stuff. Uh, I remember was we talked about the light planets and the goals and things that we set for our 2011 and, and all the things that have happened in this calendar year, specifically in here in December, and what all that stuff means to us spiritually as we move forward into this new year. Uh, Pastor talked about manifestation, what this year is going to look like, and so a bunch of stuff. I don't remember a lot of the details, but if somebody wants to help me with that, please feel free. And so I'll open it to your questions and or comments. Anyone? Okay.
Uh, we talked.
Yes, sir.
We talked. Um, we had about the energy that's available, that was made available rather, a week before last, with the planets lining up in order, and understanding that it's been quite some time since that took place. It the meaning of it to indigenous people is that not only is the energy available, but it opens a portal for us to absorb that energy and carry us to a place of greater insight. And more importantly, grants tremendous opportunity to bring balance. And that's been our goal all along, to bring balance. Balance, balance does not mean equal. Balance is something totally different than that. Um, Balance simply means that nothing overwhelms the other. For example, balance, it takes more feathers to balance than it does lead to bring balance. Tremendous amount more feathers. So what I'm saying is this: there will be existing confusion even in the midst of balance. However, it won't dominate. The domination will be righteousness, and that righteousness will flow like the rivers of water, and there will be resistance. There will be adversarial speeches against it. There will be adversarial actions made against those who not only are seeking this balance, but are living in the midst of it. So I don't want you to equate balance with being equal. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Pastor. Anyone else? Questions or comments? Okay. Guys, I hope you guys don't mind if we look at First Samuel chapter 1 again. Uh, that is, I mentioned to Pastor that I can't seem to leave that alone. That keeps talking to me, and I think I see why, at least part of it. You hear us say it's a lot in there. It's a lot in there. This is a lot of stuff in here, and I think we were on the right track before, but there's another layer to it that we want to open up. Pay a close attention as we talk about this to the relationship between. Pay close attention to it. You don't see a domination type thing, not the way we have come to understand domination in the earth, not by what we see and the examples we live by really day to day. This is almost to me like a breathing, like a breathing. You see, you see the function of masculinity. You see the cohesiveness of femininity. Then you see the cohesiveness of masculinity, and it just plays out like poetry. So pay attention to that, and as we go along here, and if it doesn't, something doesn't make sense, by all means, stop us and let's talk about it. Okay. 1 Samuel chapter 1. If there are not any other questions or comments, we'll go into this. Now there was a certain man from Ramanah Sophim from the hill country of Ephraim, and his name was Elkanah, the son of Jeroham, and the son of Elihu, the son of Tohu, the son of Zuph, and Ephraimite. And he had two wives. The name of the one was Hannah, and the name of the other was Peninnah. And Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. Now this man would go up from the city yearly in worship to sacrifice to the Lord of hosts in Shiloh. And the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were priests to the Lord there. Priests to the Lord there. These two are very important. We'll. The day came for Elkanah to Peninnah his wife, and to all her sons and daughters. But to Hannah, excuse me?
You're breaking up, son.
Okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now, Pastor?
Yeah, you're clear.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to start in verse 4 again. And when for a sacrifice to Peninnah his wife and to all her sons and daughters. But to Hannah he would give a double portion, for he loved Hannah, but the Lord had closed up her womb. Her rival, however, would provoke her bitterly to irritate her because the Lord had closed her womb. And it happened year after year, as often as she went up to the house of the Lord, she would provoke her, so she wept and would not eat. Then Elkanah, her husband, said to her, Hannah, why do you weep, and why do you not eat? And why is your heart sad? Am I not better to you than 10 sons? Okay, let's stop right here for a minute and take a look at this. In the very beginning, when we look at this, I said to you how important this first verse was, because as we have come to know this story by Hannah, and Hannah giving her baby, her newborn baby, over to the priest. This story is a lot deeper than that. And I see something else here that's worthy of a discussion. This is not only the genealogy of her husband Elkanah. This is the genealogy of both of them. This is spiritual. This is spiritual, and let's open it up and look at it for a minute. I want to make a comparison here. The comparison I want to make is with Adam and Eve. And in saying that, from this point on, I want to call them masculine and feminine energy and not use those names, because we've come to a place now where that not only is confusing, it prevents us from seeing the total spirituality of what is trying to be conveyed to us. So when I show you the comparison here Uh, I may use the name, but I'm going to follow it up quickly with masculinity and femininity so you can see that you are both. And each one of these characteristics that we're discussing here, we're talking about all of us, individually, all of us. You hear that? Individually, all of us. So, the makeup of Ron is all of these characters. I am Hannah. I am Ekanol. I am Penanol. I'm everybody in this book, and all of that is a part of me. Now let's look at the example of it. In the beginning, there, God says to masculine energy. He says to masculine energy, "It is not good for you to be alone." And what is the first thing he does? He brings the animals to Adam to set the character of. Name means character. So what takes place here? We look at this thing and we see that Adam named these animals, and it really is done so without much of an explanation. But if you look at what is taking place, in order for you to see your spiritual essence, you have to take an internal journey. It comes from the inside. Eve, or the feminine energy, was already there. It wasn't made later, it was already there. So it takes a searching internally to you to see who you are. This is an important part of this. The feminine energy, the spiritual side of you, is the essence of who you really are. And that is the direction that we're all moving towards. It is not a gender kind of thing. It is totally, totally spiritual. So when he looks at these animals, he goes, when God sends him to name these animals, it is an external journey that he takes inside of him. Now look at the difference. In 1 Samuel here, the names that I mentioned to you, this is an internal journey. This is an internal journey. And these names, for one thing, it says there was a certain man in Ramana of Sophim. That name means he's on the lookout. There is a desire here and he's looking for something. What is it he's looking for? What is it he's looking for? So there was a certain man. So there were others who had opportunity to be elevated. There were others who had opportunity to take this same journey. There were this genealogy shows that when you turn inwardly to take this journey, there is no such thing as time. You bring all of this energy into one place and one desire. It all becomes one, the here and now. So when you look at all these names that's in this verse, these were men seeking righteousness, seeking compassion from God is one of the names. Or created by God is another one. Or to be astonished, to flow or to overflow. So these are all spiritual descriptions that are being used. So compare that. Yes, sir.
Can we go back a moment to Adam and Eve? Maybe I missed it when you mentioned the animals being brought to the masculine energy.
Yeah. The animals. Yes, sir. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
To go into that.
Okay. The animal, instead of Adam had a chance, and this is his free will. Adam had an opportunity to see righteousness here. He does not. The character of the animals is what Adam gave them. So you see the confusion of what he saw internally. Some of it was rage. Some of it was docile animals, but most of it was anything but the spiritual essence of the Creator. So, in other words, what he saw is what he put there.
Let's not.
Go ahead.
Let's not deal with it from a he, as you said.
Okay.
But the masculine
Yeah.
experience, that kind of thing.
And guys, you got to thank you, Pastor. I'm kind of going fast because there's a lot here, and I don't trying to talk it out. Okay. What the essence of what he created is what that spiritual energy looks like. So when the masculinity sees what is inside of him, when he sees that spiritual essence, when he sees the feminine energy, that is why they're not on the same page. That is why you see confusion in Genesis when the two sides come together, the masculine and feminine energy come together. Unlike what you see here. Unlike what you see here. Now, and I'm going to talk about Peninnah and Hannah in a minute, but I want you to concentrate on Peninnah is very much very necessary, just as religion is necessary.
Maybe.
But ask me questions. Ask me questions also. This can be clear because it doesn't feel like it.
I want to look at. May I see if what I'm seeing is what you're saying? Okay.
Okay.
So this masculine energy was brought into existence, and that masculine energy was unaware of the femininity that it had within it.
Correct.
Animals were brought for him to the masculine to name. What happened is this is not about saying this is a lion or this is a tiger. When it says that they were brought for it to name, it's talking about to give it character. What character would it reflect? And within this masculine energy was also free will, and with that free will, this entity, the characteristics that this entity saw within itself actually was anger, rage, love, all mixed together.
Yes.
And that is the reason men can tame animals. Now, what happened in relationship to this? When these emotions were seen, it's after those emotions that the realization of feminine energy was made known to masculinity. And masculinity became dominant at that point. So dominant until it says, we don't need our Creator anymore. We can do this on our own. For this sake, shall Ish leave his father and mother, leave a womb, and cling to Ishah. So what it was saying is that it didn't need the father anymore. It only needed each other. And this is the beginning of the establishment of religion in the earth. It started in the spiritual realm, right? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. And including that is why the man never woke up, because he stayed in his confusion.
I have a question. I'm sorry. This is from Ellen. Let's go back to when Adam, masculine, even though I need a little clarity on this. When he named the animal, did he possess the feminine and the masculine within him, but he was so, what rose up in him was the masculine. Is that what we're saying?
It's not. See, this is the problem.
Okay.
I don't want to use the words he and she
Okay.
because what we picture in our minds is a man and a woman.
Okay.
And we're talking about a spiritual being
Uh-huh.
that was into existence.
Okay.
Why was this spiritual being brought into existence? It was brought into existence as a replica of the one who created it, image and likeness.
Okay.
Now, when this entity was created, this entity, the animals were brought to him. In other words, the emotions that was going to be in this entity was brought to him, and he could see these, or it could see these emotions. However, it remained unaware of the feminine presence within its existence, and
Okay.
that feminine presence was not made known until it says that, and they took a rib and made a woman.
Okay.
So the whole idea of this is not the story of what we call Adam and Eve and the creation has nothing to do with a man and a woman. What it actually is a foundation that is being laid so that we can see only what we can go back to. We can also see where we came from. And when we look at that, it also tells us, based upon the being not aware of the feminine presence, this, what we are beginning to see, is the inception of male domination. Even when they go to the garden, the attitude of this man, of this entity rather, the attitude was to put the burden of everything that went wrong on the shoulders of femininity. And that is no different than what we are experiencing today. Everything about...
Back up his attitude to put it on the femininity. Tell me where he did that. Show him where he did that, if you don't mind.
Okay, when the masculinity saw, heard the voice rather speaking to it, where art thou? And then it began when the Creator began to speak. What happened is the masculine said that it was the feminine who caused this to come into play. It's the feminine who told me to eat, which means that it's the feminine who told me to eat from the tree of functionality and dysfunctionality. At that point, the weight of everything that went wrong because of the attitude of masculinity was laid on the shoulders or laid at the feet of femininity. And from that point to this day, the burden of masculine mistakes, of masculine arrogance, masculine greed, all of it is laid on the shoulders of this woman. Even when you look at the church setting, masculinity runs it. No matter who's in the pulpit, masculinity controls it. And everything that goes wrong, men are not responsible for it. And the kicker is this. Feminine energy knew what was happening at the hands of masculinity. And that is seen by what happens today. The manifestation of this feminine energy is female. The manifestation of masculine is male. And if you look at the church, the only time that it desires females to be involved is when it not only controls the actions of the female, but when it needs something done, when it needs money, when it needs membership, when it needs presence. All of that is on the shoulders of the female. And this is one of the things that we overlook. Females know that they are the burden bearers for everything in their congregation. Just like in the spiritual realm, when this was being established, the feminine energy knew, the femininity knew that this was a burden that was put on her back, on its back, by the masculine. And from that point forward, we have seen the results, and the results of that is religion. Anytime that males are in control of that which is spiritual, it fails, or it is manipulated, or it is about control. If you look at the religions today, I'm not talking about that the spirituality are 6,000 years ago. Today, if you look at that today, you will see that the strength in that quote-unquote church, the strength of it are the females. If there were no females there wouldn't be no church. Yet, the masculine from the inception has been the dominating, controlling, manipulating entity. Now, I do think it was done on purpose, but then that's a story that's an explanation we can get into later on. But my question is, are you seeing the picture?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else? Are you see? Is this making sense?
Yes.
It makes sense to me.
Okay. So what we're looking at is what this relationship's supposed to look like. This interaction of masculine and feminine energy is supposed to look like. So these verses, I think I read up through verse 8. I'm gonna go a little further, and we're gonna keep talking about this. Okay. So he had two wives. The two wives it's very necessary. Okay. So if you look at mankind and look at all of us as being one, and I'm talking spiritual, I'm talking about the spirit of truth is one. It may be fragmented into generation after generation, but it's all one. It's all one and the same. So what do the two wives represent? As we just finished, the relationship in the beginning was kind of fragmented. It was kind of all over the place because of the confusion that was infused in it from the very beginning. So if you look at this, you look at this journey that is taking place. The two wives represent truth and religion. Why? Because that's what man has become. Truth and religion. So Peninnah is extremely necessary, and I think Pastor and Ms. Barber did an awesome job before we explained this. Peninnah representing religion, Peninnah representing everything that has been done into the earth that seems to be right. So you see her being the wife. She has sons and daughters. She has children. So these are this is an earthly thing. This is the duty of the earth. This is what man has brought into the earth. But the spiritual side, that womb has yet to be open. And again, that womb that is open, it comes from internal searching. It comes from yearning. It comes from a desire.
Right.
So, yes, sir.
I hate to stop, but I see something that's pertinent to what you're saying.
Okay.
without Penina, without feminine presence, religion could not exist either. Feminine presence and religion equals an attempt to mold spirituality into what you want it to be. And the masculinity is the one who's doing the molding. But that there has to be a buy-in from the femininity that's within that masculinity. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. You want to elaborate on it a little bit further? I like that.
What I'm saying is that just like I was talking about earlier, the presence of the females is what keeps that congregation going. Without that, there is no congregation. So what I'm saying, in essence, is even religion has to have feminine energy to exist. And what I am saying is that Elkanah and Peninnah was no different than a pastor or a male establishing a church or a religion. If you look at the pastoral, it is always present itself as being strong and in control, but it's condescending to females. You see a softer side, even though it's pretense. You see a softer side when it goes towards females because they want to placate them enough to get them to do what they want to do. Therefore, what I see between Elkanah and Peninnah is no different than the pastoral relationship in a congregation, a religious congregation, with the females. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. That's good. Yeah, I see that. Does that everybody?
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The bottom line is this. Religion is about manipulating and controlling feminine energy. That's it. And it has a lot of converts, a lot of sons and daughters who are following it because it is ignoring the reality of what spirituality is. And the day always comes when Hannah comes on the scene. And I'll give it back to Ron at this point.
I want to make sure we all get this though, y'all. We kind of quiet. Is it making sense? Do you all can you see it from a spiritual perspective? If not, we'll hold up right here till we get that. Make sure we're clear on that.
Yes, I see. And do you think Ron and Reverend Richards, that because it's more women in the church than it is men, the reason why they dominate like they do?
No, it's not because they're there. It's because the domination is so strong until females are taught to capitulate to it. They are conditioned to follow that leadership. Otherwise, they are separated from the group, or they are separated from an auxiliary, or they are scorned because they are troublemakers, that kind of thing. It's not because they're there. The religion couldn't function without it, without that presence. And because of that presence, masculinity continues to control. Look at every single thing that we call a religion. Every single one of them has a father of this religion and not a mother. However, if you go back beyond the 2,000 years when Jesus was in the earth, if you go beyond that, when all of the foundations of spirituality were being established, they were centered around femininity and not masculinity. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thanks.
Now, if it's not clear, please raise another question. Or just say, I don't understand.
Oh, I understood that.
Okay. Okay, great.
Okay. Let me show you something that's real important that we can overlook. Look at the start of verse 2. It says that he had 2 wives. Then you go down to the bottom of verse, start at verse 5. He said, but Hannah, he gave a double portion before he loved him. Now, spiritually, what is this saying? The 2 wives represent a fork. He can go either way here. What is his desire? What is the masculinity? What is he attracted to? What is it that he desires here? We're talking spiritual here. So the double portion speaks of him making a decision. This is done out of love. This is done out of compassion. This is not done out of obligation. I gave a portion to you and to your children because that is my obligation. Now, go back to, if we can think back to the lesson we had with Isaac and Rebekah. Isaac did the blessings with those boys according to what was lawful. But it wasn't until he becomes one with Rebekah that he gives the true spiritual blessing. So the lawful part is done because that's what needs to be done. Religion carries man until man is able to see. It's almost like and I don't want to use this word, but if you can see what I'm saying, the word curse means to cover something over or to hide something. So what religion does is it hides truth until you are ready to receive it. Jesus said, if you have ears to hear this, then hear it. So not everybody can see this or hear this all at the same time. Now, think about your own journey. When you started off, every age you were, whatever city, country, wherever you are, you started looking inside, and the internal thing started with this. There's got to be more to it than this. There's something else here. There has to be something more to it. So it was the Pentateuch in you, the religious part of you that kept pushing you. That part of you that kept pushing and say, there's more to this and that. There's more to it. You have stayed in religion too long. You got to get out and start searching. Get out of your comfort zone and start moving. Start searching for this. And that is what got us all to the place that we are now. So religion, Pentateuch, has her role to play. There's always something provoking us to push us forward. And especially with this is that double portion. That word double means to flare your nostrils. In other words, this is emotional. This is emotional. This is giving you, oh, I want this. My life is at stake here. So when you look at that, it talks about provoked her and she wept year after year. Look at it like this. I'm trying to think of examples. No one learns to fly, and I'm talking spiritual here. No one learns to fly without gravity. What do I mean by that? There's got to be something that's continuously pulling you back to earth. There's got to be something that's telling you you can't do this. There's got to be something there to every attempt you make until you scratch and claw and give it your all. Till you say, you know what, I'm going to do this. If this takes everything in me, I'm going to make this happen. That's what the Pentanol represents. That thing that pushes you, that catalyst that makes you just give up everything to see truth.
Hey, Ron, can
So
Go ahead. I want to scripture what you're talking about.
I'm pretty much done. I was going to see if I had any questions or comments. The relationship between Pentanol and Hannah is very strong and very necessary. But yes, sir. Go ahead, Pastor.
This is no different than Jesus saying, O Israel, how I long to take you under my wings as a hen takes a brood. What is he saying? I've been trying to show you what spirituality looks like. And I have provoked this, or I have provoked the priest by doing this. And yet, you refuse to see it. So being provocative is a catalyst to make you, to push you to the place where you say, it doesn't matter what happens to me or what's said about me, I have to do this. So, if we look at that in relationship to what happened with Hannah, what we see is Elkanah is seeking to appease Hannah, and he's saying to her, he's giving all this stuff to her. However, he knows it was real. No different than that pastor knows what's real. And I know that, especially with the ones that we have been in contact with, because the one who they turn the people, or sought to turn the people against, is the one they were calling at night to get answers and understandings of scriptures. That is no different. They knew better. They knew better. And they did nothing about it. Elkanah knew better. He knew better. But he did not turn to the place of spirituality until what happened? When Hannah went to the temple and prayed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And okay. Any questions or comments? If it's not clear, just say it's not clear, please. Ron?
Okay. So, okay. So then the Elkanah, her husband, said to her, Hannah, why do you not, I'm in verse 8, why do you weep and why do you not eat? And why is your heart sad? Am I not better to you than 10 sons? That again, that's spiritual. The 10 sons question is very spiritual. One of the things we talked about 10 a great deal. 10, so it's in 10% represents the whole. So you look at this, and this oneness, this union that what takes place here, and the union is not masculine or feminine. It's a union. When you come together, you are what you were designed to be. It is not any type of dominance or submissive thing. It is I am who I am. It is a seed and a womb that comes together to create life. And it is the only thing in the earth that can create life. So it talks about he loved her, and he says, am I better to you, not better to you than 10 sons? What comes from this? So Hannah rose up after eating and drinking in Shiloh. Now Eli, the priest, was sitting in the seat by the doorpost of the temple of the Lord, and she was greatly distressed. Let me slow down. And she, greatly distressed, prayed to the Lord and wept bitterly. And she made a vow and said, O Lord of hosts, if thou indeed look on the affliction of thy handmaid servant and remember me, and not forget thy maidservant, but will forgive thy maidservant a son, that I will give him to the Lord all the days of his life, and a razor should not touch his head. Now, we talked about this. We talked about what a Nazarite was. We talked about Jesus being a Nazarite. Samson was a Nazarite. And I think it was Barbara that kind of gave those examples and gave some explanations on those. Go back up here. Drinking in Shiloh. Drinking in Shiloh. Shiloh means to draw out. So what is being drawn out? What I'm drawing out of us is what is being drawn out of us right now. Who you are. We're getting a clear picture of who we are. We're getting the confidence and the faith all coming together. That you know what, I am Elohim. I can see that now. I am Elohim. I am the light of the earth. I'm understanding these scriptures like I never thought I would before, because the scriptures is me. It's not about a book. It's about me opening up me and showing me my spiritual side, my soulful side. So all of that is going up into Shiloh. Now, Eli sitting in the doorpost, or sitting in the doorpost of the temple, is extremely important here, because I can't remember, someone gave details before about that how corrupt and evil they were. I think Pastor went into that some and talked about that. So that is what you see changing here is a vision of the priesthood. You see a change of the vision of what she has been coming to all along. It says she's been coming up here all along, y'all. She's been coming talking to religion. But this time, there's going to be a difference. She takes a stand. She rises up. And she goes and she goes and you see in the doorway. That doorway represents a newness, a new opportunity. I'm going to step through this. I'm going to leave the old behind, and I'm going to step into a newness. So she's moving out of religion here and moving into truth. Questions, y'all. I'm kind of talking fast, but questions. How we look? Does this still making sense?
For me, yes.
Me.
So all the days of his life, and a razor should not touch his head. We talked about what a Nazarite was, and I didn't kind of remember, because I think Audrey or Barbara and Pastor talked about that. Pastor, you want to go into a Nazarite for a little bit? The razor, the hair was a symbol of strength. I remember that part. And being a Nazarite, you were separated. You were consecrated. It's a symbol of holiness, that creating space, kind of thing that we looked at when we talked about being complete. So this is again a spiritual thing, but somebody else help me out, because there's more detail to it than that.
The Nazarene was not, he was indeed set aside, and the hair was not only the source of strength, but the hair also denoted that it was a Nazarene. Also, the Nazarene could not imbib alcohol, and the Nazarene was seen as the protector of the people. And if you remember correctly, Jesus, it says nothing good can come out of Nazareth, and that was referencing Jesus. And that in itself speaks to the spiritual essence of a Nazarene, the spiritual essence of a Nazarene is simply one who seeks to protect is the wrong word, but what it's doing is actually assuring the people that spirituality is real, that God is real, that the Creator is real. The same thing that Jesus was doing, but without actually teaching it as Jesus did. They lived it in the midst of the people, and by them living that in the midst of the people, they were actually in an adversarial space with the priests, because the priests saw themselves also as being set aside for the same purpose. And I'm sure there's more that I missed, so if there's anyone else, please help.
Okay. I know it's a lot of information, y'all. And again, yes, sir.
Where you going from here?
You want to stop here or you want to keep going?
I just want to know, because what I'm thinking about is making an effort to pull it together from all the way from Genesis to where we are.
Great idea. I support that all. I may not be the right one to do it. I don't speak well on situations like this. I see it, but I'm not good at explaining it all.
Okay.
Serious. I'm serious. I'm my words.
Okay.
Can anybody pull it together? Do you see what's being said? Do you see the comparison with Genesis?
I'll put it together. Are you going to enter the doorway at where Eli is?
Not if you pull it together. Let's see where we are. Let's see how this gonna feel when we get there.
All that's being said is this: from the foundation of creation, it was ordained by our Creator that the entity that was brought to life in the image and likeness of our Creator was created in such a manner that it had a choice to walk in that image and likeness. What I'm saying is this: the dominance of that feminine. The dominance of that masculinity over femininity was set into motion during that period of creation. And it was set into motion for the purpose of this entity becoming physical and growing beyond seeing itself as physical and seeing its true essence. This is what I'm saying. This enmity, the adversarial space between male and female, the dominance of that male over that female, was set into motion by the Creator. And in the place that's called the garden, which means that in the place, that space of growth, what took place is the feminine energy, or the femininity, ate from the tree. Now, it's impossible for an entity to be together, to be one entity, masculine and feminine, and for the feminine to eat from a tree and the masculine not to. All of this is a story about how male domination came into being. And it is also a story to show us how to get back to beginning. And the way we get, the place where we are shown how to get back to beginning, we are talking about that from 1 Samuel. Because all of those names in that genealogy represent emotions. It's talking about the emotions that's involved with the people, with the entities they are about to discuss. And in doing so, we see these emotions at play between these people who are named. Now, the people are only given names in order for the story to be told generation after generation. However, if we look at it through the eyes of the Eastern viewer, what we see is we see these emotions coming into play when you are on the road or traveling towards spirituality, which means traveling in the direction of beginning. It also shows the obstacles along this course. And the obstacles along this course are male domination that breeds religion. And the difficulty was moving outside of that religion by saying there got to be more. The difficulty in that is that the feminine energy, the femininity in that religion is at the feet of that femininity, which means at the feet of the female that religion is taught. Not taught to be religion, but taught because they believe that they are teaching the right thing or the righteous thing. So what I'm saying is that what we are seeing here is religion versus spirituality. And when we look at it from that perspective, we see that Peninnah and Elkanah represent religion, and also with that masculine knowing is more also, but is not seeking it because it's comfortable where it is, because it is in control and it has popularity amongst those who are the foundation of that congregation, and that is the females that they are manipulating. However, there comes a time when that the Shekinah begins to prick your soul. And the Shekinah pricking your soul is Hannah. Because you feel uncomfortable because you know it's more. Or when it starts irritating you about what's being said across the pulpit because it doesn't make sense. That's provoking Hannah. That's provoking the Shekinah. And the Shekinah begins to speak to your soul. And when that happens, the Shekinah goes in the midst of religion. And what happens? Now, the Shekinah has been there before, but this time there are those who are irritated by what's being said because they know it's not right. So now the Shekinah goes before the doorway where Eli sits. And what it means is that the Shekinah has brought you, has shown you a pathway to get from religion to spirituality. And
yes.
And when you see that, what happens? The preacher says that something is different with you. In other words, this is represented by the lips moving and no words coming out, and he's thinking she's drunk. What he's actually saying is, you are not doing what I expected you to do. There is something different now. There's something is going on that's different. And you have come through this journey of religion, And now you are going through the gateway of spirituality because now you are strong enough to say what needs to be said. I am not drunk. I am not crazy. I know what's being said is not beneficial for me to understand the scriptures or who I am. And when that is said, now the impregnation takes place. The Shekinah is impregnated, and from that comes a newborn. And that newborn has to be fed in the cave, so to speak, by the Shekinah. That soul has to be reignited by the Shekinah. That soul has to go to places to have retreats, so they can sit around the table and be fed by the Shekinah. And the day comes when the preparations have been made, and the break comes with religion. Not breaking from religion and discarding it, but breaking from religion and understanding the obligation that we have to show others the pathway to freedom, the pathway to spirituality. That's all involved within the confines of this story. Is it making sense so far?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So, when that happens, you see a clean break. What happens now? The Shekinah says, I am giving this son a builder. I'm giving this builder to God forever. What the Shekinah is saying is, I am committed. Actually, your soul is speaking through the Shekinah. I am committed to God forever. The Lord has control over my life because I relinquish it to Him or to it. And from that point forward, the Samuel in us, or the energy that was birthed in us of spirituality begins to seek to clear up things, like Samuel dealing with the boys at the gate, cleaning up behind them rather, and taking their place, which means that the religion allows you to do anything you want to do as long as you are the preacher's son or the preacher's daughter. Eli's sons were having sex at the gate to the temple and doing anything else they wanted to do at the gate to the temple. And Eli said nothing. But when the Shekinah spoke to the soul of those who were irritated, knowing that there had to be more, when that happened, there was a change that took place. The sons of Eli no longer could do what they were doing because the eye of those who were seeking to be one with the Creator or seeking to know who they are, their eye was open and they saw the duplicity in religion. They saw the unrighteousness in religion. They saw the greed and manipulation in religion. And seeing that, the Creator then pulls those together who are seeking to bring balance and order to humanity by way of humanity learning who it is, who it was created to be. And when they come together, what happens is you begin to realize that you don't change people by reading the scripture to them, and neither do you change people by preaching to them. You cannot change people spiritually until you change yourself spiritually. So everything that I've said in relationship to this story and the story of creation is simply saying that You have to deal with yourself internally before you are in the space that's necessary to deal with those, not deal with, I'm sorry, lead those who are confused and searching for what is real. Once that happens and you're committed to that, then you begin to see that the way people are changed is by virtue of speaking the truth about what the scriptures have guided us to, and making sure that it is in the macro. That the macro is nothing but the spirit body that's in this earth. Making sure that it's in the spirit body by virtue of us speaking it. And when those truths are spoken, we begin to see the results of those truths being spoken. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
Okay, so that does that. Can you see the story that's being told here? The picture here is actually a portrait of who we are. And that portrait of who we are, you must determine whether you're part of that portrait or not, by virtue of your commitment, by virtue of your desires. Does that make sense? That was not
Yes.
rhetorical.
Yes.
Yes, it makes
Any questions or comments about that? And Ron, I hope that I didn't go too far.
No, you did an excellent job, Pastor. I want to add something if I can.
Sure.
And this part, and the only reason I want to add this, because this part is beautiful to me, and it kind of sums up the whole thing. Verses 16, 17, and 18. And this is me saying exactly what Pastor just said. I'm just looking at it from these three verses. It says, do not consider your maidservant as a worthless woman, for I have spoken until now out of my great concern and provocation. Then Eli answered and said, go in peace, and may God of Israel grant your petition that you have asked of him. That's very important. That's very important. Why? Because he represents dominion in the earth as far as religion, how man sees God. He gives her permission. In other words, he opens the door. This puts a union between truth and religion. This brings them together, that religion shows you that religion can change. Now, look at the verse 16. It says, do not consider your maidservant as a worthless woman. As we just finished talking, when we went back to Genesis, femininity since the inception of man has always been seen as worthless. It has had no value. Side of you has had no value. It has never been empowered in the earth. So when she talks about talking about I'm not a worthless woman, that's more than just words talking about Hannah. It's talking about that spiritual essence, that Shekinah that Pastor just finished talking about. And when you pull all this together, it changes. It makes room in religion. In the middle of religion, it makes room for spirituality. It opens that door. It opens the door, and not only does she walk through the door where he's sitting in, he walks through as well. So what am I saying? I'm putting all this together, what Pastor said, and some Pastor, if I mess it up, help me out here. Do not think for a minute, when you go into these houses, when you go around family members, when you go around people, you make a difference. They see what is in you. They see something that is different. The same thing that he saw when he saw her lips moving. Something's different here. That doesn't look like the religion I'm used to. That is you, if you choose to be. That is us. That is why we're on this phone. So I just wanted to tie that in. But that, to me, I love those verses.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have a question. Hello?
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
What do you mean by, I need a better example of religion changes?
What I said, religion changing?
Yeah, you said
What
religion changes.
We have an opportunity to change the hearts of those who are stuck in religion. Just like Eli being the leader. In other words, it goes back to Genesis. And the man has dominion over what is in the earth. Well, was the dominion in the earth. But the dominion in the earth becomes one with Hannah, with feminine energy. You see what I mean? He says, go in peace, and may the God of Israel be with you. Well, I'm using my words now. That's very important because he represents the authority in the land. So that's what I mean. Religion, the door has been opened. We look at things that happen in the earth and we feel powerless, but we are not powerless. We are not worthless. That's what I'm saying. And if somebody can see that,
Well, I was going to say, I thought we changed and not, religion is what it is, but I thought we're the ones who change and not, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but I need clarity on that, please.
I'm talking about the people who are religious. I'm saying you are the ones that change the hearts of people that you run into. That's what I'm saying. Those people in your family, those people, wherever you go, you make changes. You are the light that is in the land. You are the Shekinah. It is your soul that they see. It is you who they see when Eli saw her lips moving and thought she was drunk. In other words, he's saying, you know what? This doesn't look like religion. This doesn't look like what I've been teaching. This doesn't look like who I am. What is up with this woman? He saw something. He saw something different. And just like we see today, every time somebody sees something different, they don't recognize it's less than. What do they say? You are human. They see it as something less than because they can't explain it. But I'm saying you have the power, you have the authority, you have the heart, you have the light to change the hearts of men. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm calling religion.
Okay. Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Now it does that you explained
Okay.
it, because again, I thought religion does what it's supposed to do, and it is a concept, but I always thought that we change, we do the transforming or whatever. So yeah, I got it. Thank you.
We do transform. We do change. That's how we change
Yep.
others.
I know that part. I know that. But I'm saying, I'm glad he explained it now, because when he made the statement that religion changes, I just needed clarity on that. What did he mean by that?
And I didn't say that clearly there. That's what I mean.
You.
Religion has the opportunity. Those who are walking in religion have the opportunity to change. That's what I should have said.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Anyone else? Well,
Ron, this is Angela. The question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, when we discussing feminine energy and Shekinah, is that the same or that's different? I don't understand.
It is one and the same. Pastor, help me with that. But it is one and the same. And that's what we're talking about. the Shekinah, the God portion that was left in the earth has been dormant, and nobody has taken advantage of it. Nobody has tapped into it. Nobody has searched their soul to the energy that is there. So that's what we're talking about.
And is that considered as truth, or that goes beyond truth?
It is truth. In fact, Shekinah, the word means feminine energy. The word is feminine. Yeah, but yes, ma'am, it is truth.
Thank you.
Does that make sense? Can somebody else explain it a little better?
Andrew, what portion of it are you not seeing of what you just said?
It's pulling, understanding, really is understanding when you refer to the masculine and feminine. I know when you was talking about in Genesis about the attitudes, the animals being brought to Adam, that was the masculine. I think you said was the different kinds of attitudes. But then didn't really understand. I'm not really sure the masculine and the feminine energy, so I don't really have a real understanding of it.
Okay. Do you understand that you have a masculine and feminine side?
Yes.
That's what we're talking about. You have your dominant energy is female. Your latent energy is masculine, which means that you have estrogen major and testosterone is limited. So that's indicative of male and female energy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But I think I know seeing it from, I guess, seeing it from the physical side and seeing it from the spiritual.
If you can see it from the physical side,
More better, yeah.
then see this. Everything that's physical is a spiritual manifestation. So what you see physical also exists in the spiritual world. It just does not exist with the body.
Okay.
Okay, let me show you something. When the story goes that Jesus was crucified and Jesus was resurrected, and Jesus could be seen in one place, and in an instant he's in another place. And Jesus left the earth on a cloud. Okay, so what is this story saying? It's telling us that when the earth is resurrected, when we are resurrected in truth, then we are resurrected as we were created. And that means that we in this earth realm have bodily form, and we can be in the spiritual as easily as we can in the physical. And while we are in the physical world, we can travel on the wings of the wind. We can be from this place to another place in an instant, as did Jesus going through the walls. So that story is simply telling us that when we are intertwined totally with the spiritual, meaning that we have sold out totally from this material world to the spiritual, and we have become one, truly one with our Creator. That means that we can be in the presence of our Creator spiritually, or we can exist in this physical world at will. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now, I really want to make sure that you understand it, because if in the future when we talk about masculinity and femininity, I want you to be able to see it and not have to always see it through a physical man or a physical woman. That makes sense.
If you look
Okay.
at Adam, if you look at the entity called Adam in Genesis, that entity was both masculine in terms of its energy and feminine in terms of its energy. That entity called Adam, it represented unicity of the feminine aspects, our energies, combined with the masculine energies. It was oneness. And because of what happened with when that feminine aspect, part of that feminine aspect was taken and separated from that masculine aspect, that began the process of duality, two things. In other words, the entity saw its feminine side apart from itself rather than the oneness of it all originally. And so when we talk about masculine and feminine energy now, it's recognizing that both of them are very important to each other in terms of the way they work together, the way they are intertwined, the way that they can provide for and create a life. Both are necessary. And one is not necessarily higher level energy than the other. They both require each other to function as that one spiritual entity. And so at the time when we began to understand the importance of femininity, the importance of, and I'm not talking about necessarily people, I'm talking about those energies. Because, you know, we used to talk about, well, why do rappers downgrade women, those kinds of things? Well, Pastor just said that the physical is a reflection of the spiritual. And so what we have been seeing in the physical is that pushing away from and continued separation of those two energies that were a part of that one entity, the atom. And so now that we recognize it, that the two are intertwined, then in a sense that also takes us back to the beginning, the unicity of both. I am masculine in terms of my energy when I need to be. I am physical, I am feminine in terms of my energy when I need to be. I can give and receive as I need to, depending on the needs of those who I meet. And I'm sorry if I've muddied it up more, but the clearest way for me to see it is to understand that at the atom, before separation of the feminine portion, was both. And in the physical realm, our opportunity to blend together from the spiritual perspective, those two things brings back the unicity that the atom was, in a sense.
Hey, I like that. Angela, does that help any?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
No, thank you for the question. We've talked about this a number of times actually, but just as we're talking about the comments or the lessons, the questions are just as important as the explanations, because these words, these breaths that we utter are not just for us. So yeah, and that's why it is important that we ask several times. If it's making sense. And I love all the input. I do. Whatever it takes to make it clear. Is there anyone else that have a question about what was said? Okay. Again, I think this is an important lesson that we seemingly, I know it wasn't stumbled upon, but we seemingly kind of happened upon, and so hopefully it makes sense. And if not, you know what, we'll keep discussing it till it does. But I think we talked about enough of it tonight. If there are no questions or comments, Pastor, you have anything you want to close with, or? Are you there? Okay. Maybe he had to leave.
No, I'm here.
But, okay.
I was talking on mute.
Yes, sir.
I was practicing what you do sometimes.
Okay. Okay.
No, I was saying that I'm grateful to be on tonight, and the questions and the discussions. I think that they were more pertinent to where we are now and what we are to see in the next few weeks or days or weeks. I think that we won't understand it clearly where we are until we look at it retrospectively. Having crossed that bridge, we are in the world of spirituality. We are where the foundations of spirituality were laid, and it is incumbent upon us to read not only the signs of the times, but to read the writings of the ancestors that have been written indelibly on our souls. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Guys, I hope you have an awesome week. I do, and it's going to be a great year. We're going to have a good year this year. But be careful, and look forward to seeing you all Saturday morning. Thanks again.
Thank you, everyone.
Great teaching.
Have a good evening.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Bye.